Namaskar, hello and a very warm welcome to CIET NCERT's special live phone-in program, a special program of webinar series on cyber safety and security. My name is Tanvi Khurana, and in this particular program we are going to discuss the topic emerging frauds and safe practices in banking. Well, we all use internet banking and we need some precautions. We need to know certain privacy settings so that we can be secure and our accounts cannot be hacked. So this is what we are going to discuss, and this entire theme of this month is financial safety in cyber safety. So 1st of June was the first Wednesday of this month. That was the Cyber Jagrukta Divas, and the series was started that day only. And after first, it was the 3rd of June where we continued the same theme, and then we are today here with another topic that I just mentioned, that is emerging frauds and safe practices in banking. So if you have any questions, any queries, please reach out to us, share your questions through our phone number, which is 8800440559. You're watching us live on PME Vidya channel number 6 to channel number 12, and also on our YouTube channel, which is NCERT Official. In the live chat box, you can write down your questions, queries, and share them with us. So this is a whole series, and you can participate in this program. You can register yourself. There will be a quiz which will be given to you on next Friday, which is 17th of June. So you have to be ready for that, and you have to watch all these programs. So if you haven't registered, I would request you to please register yourself right now. And let me introduce you to our today's experts we have in our studio, Shri Sanjay Kumar. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction. And I would like to...
We'll begin. Let me just introduce you further to our audience, and then we'll begin. Okay. Sir is an assistant commandant from I4C, and we also have with us Dr. Deepak Kumar. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
So he is a cyber threat intelligence professional, and like you can see on your screens, cybersafety@ciet.nic.in, that is the email ID. This is again one of the mediums through which you can connect with us. You can be a part of this program and share your questions. So let's begin this whole program, this whole discussion on emerging frauds and safe practices, and let's just ask our first expert, that is Shri Sanjay Kumar. Sir, what exactly are we going to discuss in this particular program?
As I said before also, thank you for the nice introduction and this opportunity to be on this stage. First of all, I would like to show my gratitude towards the Ministry of Education, NCERT, on behalf of Ministry of Home Affairs, Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, under the guidance of Joint Secretary Shri Ashutosh Agnihotri ji, CIS Division, MHA. As per the initiative of MHA, it has been proposed that every first Wednesday of every month, we will be celebrating Cyber Jagrukta Divas, that is Cyber Awareness Day. And this web series is in the line of that initiative taken by MHA, and Ministry of Education has been very helpful in that regard. Now coming to today's topic, that is emerging fraud and safe practices in banking. This topic will be covered in 7 sections. First, we will talk about financial technologies, which is about how technology and financial services merge in this day and age. And second is contemporary banking, which is this state of affairs in the current banking system. Third, we will talk about financial cyber crimes. We will talk about all the modes which are available to user today in banking world, and we will talk about how those modes are under attack by cyber fraudsters. And in the second section of our presentation, my colleague Mr. Deepak ji will help me with the explanation of some specific frauds that we have been observing in the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. As we have already discussed, theme for this month is financial security in digital space. To understand this theme, we need to understand what are the finances that we should worry about, and to understand, we need to understand how technology is affecting this. So first, let's talk about finances. What is finance? Finance is how we manage our money and how we manage our investments. And if we look at finance, it can be broadly categorized into three categories. First is public finance. In public finance, we talk about how government is regulating the economy of the country. And the second would be corporate finance. Corporate finance talks about how corporates in our country or in the world are managing their funds and how they're managing their investments and how they're looking after their funding structures. Third, which we are focusing on, is personal finance. Personal finance talks about banking that an individual does, budgeting he does, investments he has interest in. So personal finance is something we'll be focusing upon, and personal finance also encompasses all the financial services provided by financial service providers, like, as we know, traditional banks are there which provide those services, and it all is encompassed under personal finance. So how personal finance we have understood as like having a savings bank account or making some withdrawal from the bank, but in this day and age it all has changed. Technology has affected every which way we use banking in our life. So when financial technology and financial services come together, it makes Fintech. So it's a short for financial technology, as we can understand, and it is basically nothing but application of technology to improve financial services. When we talk about it, there are many aspects of Fintech, that is transactions of money, taking loans, raising money for businesses. Say if I wanted to start a business, then I'd have to get a loan from the bank, and there are many ways, digital ways in today's world by which I can take that loan. And managing investments. Many apps and digital platforms have come through which I can manage my investments. Given the rise in digital transactions, we also have to worry about how these modes of transactions are open to bad gaze of cyber fraudsters. As we can see on the slide, there are many aspects of Fintech. Blockchain is there, payments are there, different kinds of payments that we do on the online world or on the offline world, exchanges that happen of asset or money, research that is undergoing, digital money that is on the cards, and we can see the fiscal year is target for our government to come up with the digital rupees, and online banking, investments, and crowdfunding. We will go through these topics one by one in the next slide. This slide gives us an overview of what is happening in Fintech in today's world. The first point, which is mobile payment apps. Mobile payment apps, we can think of many things. If I have a bank if I have an account in certain bank, then I have a mobile banking app of that bank. And if I'm using some UPI account, then I have that UPI app on my mobile phone. And if I use internet banking, then I can also use that on my mobile. So all of that has to be affected or developed as the Fintech develops in our world. Second point we can say is peer-to-peer lending. When we talk about peer-to-peer lending, it is nothing but person-to-person lending. Traditionally, banks have been doing that. Banks have been lending money to us, and I have to assure banks that I would be able to pay back whatever I am getting the loan from that bank. But nowadays, platforms are coming where people become borrowers and people themselves become lenders. So people have those online platforms where they come up with this peer-to-peer lending. But with the advancement of technology, what we see is regulation doesn't cope up with the advancement space. We also have to we come up with the regulation so that people are not duped by frauds which are happening in peer-to-peer lending and other aspects, as we will talk about further. The third aspect is cryptocurrency using blockchain. We have seen for the last decade that cryptocurrency has become a big topic among us, and it is also one of the aspects of Fintech. The next one is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is mainly collecting small amounts of money or maybe a little bigger amount of money from a large amount of individuals to fund, let's say, a startup company or an individual who is under some kind of emergency, may it be a health emergency. So crowdfunding is also done in many digital platforms, and this is also a technology which has been introduced to us lately in the recent few years. The next one is Insutech. It talks about technology, using technology in insurance business. So earlier we can see that insurances had limited options. Nowadays, using AI, using new age technology, we can find out how we can modify those schemes and fit it according to the target individuals we want the insurance policy for. Let's say we want them to customize according to the needs of a person who is living in certain area, and we can develop those insurance policies according to people living in different parts of the world. Other than these things written, there is Wealth Tech, which talks about digital asset management, and there are certain and many apps which we ourselves are acquainted with, through which we can manage our investments. We can manage our investment in different funds, or let's say different stocks, or other ways of managing our assets. And under Wealth Tech, there is a new term which is coming up, which is called robo-advisor. So it's nothing but how AI and robotic process automation is being used to give advice to a person how he or she should invest in different investment aspects. So when we talk about these technologies, we are not talking to just introduce them. We are talking how all of these have penetrated into our lives. We are in some way influenced by these technologies, or somebody we know in our lives is influenced by these technologies, and we need to know what are the aspects we should be aware about and how we can prevent falling into a trap in these new technologies. So the awareness is the main purpose of talking about these new coming up technologies. In the next slide, we will see the evolution of the fintech. We'll just go through it so that we can understand how fintech has arisen in the past few decades. First, ATMs. ATMs we have seen since we have started understanding things. So in the late 1960s, Barclays came up with ATMs, and then the digital stock exchange came, which was in 1971, and then there's the dot-coms and internet came, and the digital banking platforms started coming up in 1996. And after that, PayPal, which we all are acquainted with in certain way because we have heard the stories, and that came around in 1998. And after that, in 2009, cryptocurrency, which is again an aspect of financial technologies, it came up around 2009. And at the same time, we saw mobile. We saw that the technology came through which we could transfer money from mobile to mobile. And in 2011, user could manage money and make transactions on their smartphones. 2013, we saw all digital alternatives to traditional banking. So the concept of new banks also came along. New banks is nothing but, without having traditional physical bank branches, we could have all of that infrastructure online, and we could provide savings accounts and different kinds of accounts and services online to the users. And advances in AI, RPA that we have already talked about is artificial intelligence and robotic process automation, have enabled greater efficiencies in banking, and it is an ongoing process. Nowadays, whenever we go through a website of a bank, we see that there is a chatbot, which is a product of AI. We see that our applications are processed much faster, which is again a process of robotic process automation. And there are many processes which have doubled in speed, and we see that a day or two takes to go through some queries that we put up in front of the banks. So all these technologies are helping banks and financial sector to increase its efficiency. Now, after looking at the development of financial technology, we see the current scenario, the contemporary banking. In the middle, we can see there is a bank, and surrounding it, we see the services which are provided to the user. So I am connected with the bank, with my bank, through these services. One by one, we will talk about it. And the first one on the top, we see mobile banking. Mobile banking is nothing but different ways we use our mobiles to do banking. Let's say we have an app of certain bank in our mobile, and we transfer money or do shopping through that, or that is e-commerce, or we understand that there is no need to go to the bank or to the ATM. The second is UPI, that is Unified Payment Interface. UPI came along in 2016. It is running under the NPCI, that is National Payments Corporation of India, under the directions of RBI. UPI has been a game changer in the last few years, we see. The latest figures as they have come up, more than 1 lakh crore worth of transactions took place in only May, and more than 600 crore transactions were done with the value of 1 lakh crore rupees, more than 1 lakh crore rupees, if I'm correct. And the next one is credit cards. Again, we all are acquainted with how to use credit cards, and then is ATMs, automated teller machines, which have been there for the longest of times. Then debit cards. Again, we are acquainted with what debit cards are, we all use it. And there is bank prepaid cards. There are certain cards which banks provide to avail certain services. Let's say I was going to some foreign country, then I could take the bank prepaid card and go to that country and use that card for my expenses. And there is AEPS, which is Aadhaar enabled payment system. It is again a system which uses our Aadhaar registration, bank name and fingerprint captured in the Aadhaar registration process for making any fund transfers, or let's say making withdrawals. It is up to 10,000 rupees. Then the next is USSD, which is Unstructured Supplementary Service Data. It is a mobile banking service, and it is a service which does not require our mobile to be connected with the internet. And the code written just left of it, which says *99#. It is another way of banking which makes people who are unbanked and people who don't have access to the internet, they can connect and use their services, banking services, make withdrawals or make banking transactions using this service. Then there is POS, which is point of sale. Again, people who are living in the cities and people who are regularly going to retail shops and malls, they use point of sale points, or they are also called point of purchase, where we use our debit cards, our credit cards, our, let's say, bank prepaid cards to make that purchase. And it's a relationship between the customer and the merchant. Merchant has that point of sale. The next is mobile wallets. Again, we have seen such a surge in development of mobile wallets in recent times, and this is the mobile wallet is a virtual wallet that stores payment card information on our mobile device. Next is internet banking. Internet banking, again, it's also known as net banking or online banking. Now, so these were the various ways by which we can use our banking system. And now we come into the various ways cyber fraudsters are looking at these modes and targeting us so that they can dupe us into losing some of our digital assets or money. First is internet banking. Internet banking is targeted by phishing through emails. We get certain links and we click on those and we'll go to a website which will ask for our credentials, and we give our credentials, and by this way cyber fraudsters, criminals have our credentials. In internet banking, two things are essential, which is our credentials, and the second thing is OTP. So these two things are targeted by cyber criminals. And the second one is SIM swap fraud, which is done by making another SIM on the same SIM we have so that they can get our OTPs. Third is keylogger. Keylogger is a malicious software which is installed into our software using certain phishing links or using drive-by downloads, or there are various ways to get a malicious software into our system so that cyber fraudsters can know what we are typing on our devices. So whenever we type our credentials, whenever we type our passwords, they get those things and they empty our accounts basically. And the third one is credential stuffing. So many cyber fraudsters are collecting credentials from different data breaches that are happening that we hear about now and again, and they sometimes sell those credentials to other fraudsters who can use that to again commit cyber financial frauds. And the second one is ATM. ATM has three main concerns, which are card skimming. Card skimming is whenever you go into an ATM and you find that there is a normal looking ATM device and you insert your card, but there is a device which is put over the instrument where you insert your card. So what happens whenever you enter your card, the magnetic strip copies the information into the device which is placed by cyber fraudster, and so that he has our credential and he has our card details. And hidden cameras are also found in ATMs so that they can know what our ATM codes are. And the third one is no cash fraud. No cash fraud is nothing but they have some attachments, metal attachments or different devices which they place in the device so that whenever we enter our card and do the transaction, and it shows that our withdrawal is completed, but money doesn't come out, and we are worried that money hasn't come out, and we call the bank and we call NCRP the number 1930, but we don't understand the money has come out but it's stuck in the device. And whenever we leave the ATM and the cyber fraudster comes back into the ATM, and then he gets the money which is stuck in the ATM because he has that attachment in the device. The third is USSD, which is supporting fraud. As we have learned that there is no need of internet for using USSD service. We have a code which is *99 hash, and using some UPI IDs or let's say phone number of some other person which is MMID, and we can make transactions. So if you get a call saying that you are getting a call from certain customer care, some support team, and they ask you to dial this number using this code, if I don't know that this code is for USSD transaction, then I end up making the transaction without knowing that my account is being emptied. And the fourth one is mobile banking. We are talking about different kinds of cyber frauds, which is not fixed that this kind of fraud will happen under this category only. As I'm talking about phishing and smishing under mobile banking, but phishing is nothing but fraud voice calls. You get a call, and the cyber fraudster, whoever is calling you, he shows some kind of emergency, or he will try to impersonate somebody. He will try to impersonate somebody who is important to you, somebody, let's say your boss or somebody who has high authority to you, and then he'll ask you to make some transactions, and you end up making the transactions. But the same thing can happen under different categories of modes we have talked about in the previous slides. So phishing and smishing. Smishing is about SMSs we get. In the SMSs we get certain links. If we click those links, we might get let's say a URL where we'll find there is which looks exactly similar to the mobile banking browser we use in our mobile, but it's exactly duplicate or fake of that mobile banking browser, and so it creates confusion in front of that. The next one is mobile wallet. The call merging fraud is there, KYC fraud is there, and QR code fraud is there. Call merging is when the call is merged, and the KYC fraud is whenever somebody calls you asking about your KYC and showing that it's very important and urgent right now to do certain things, and then it is again similar to phishing. The next is QR code frauds. We have talked about QR code frauds in the previous session in our web series, so I'll skip over that. The next is AEPS fraud, and we have seen that fingerprint cloning fraud happens in AEPS because only fingerprints is required to make some transactions, and you need somebody's Aadhaar code, Aadhaar number that is, to make the transaction, and only the fingerprint cloning is done to commit that fraud. The next is debit, credit, and bank prepaid cards. The first is dumpster diving fraud. We see that we are not too worried about whenever we make a transaction. We take out our bill and we take out a receipt and throw it in the bin, or we leave our information online sometimes. Let's say whatever transaction I'm making, it also has information regarding the transaction ID and regarding my card also. So we should be more careful with those things. And there's spear phishing attacks. Spear phishing is a kind of phishing. It's targeted phishing basically. So let's say I'm targeting people who have accounts in certain banks. Let's say I have finalized a bank, and I'm targeting everybody, sending messages to everybody, emails to everybody, and telling them you are from a certain bank and we need to do this. So that I'm targeting and finding out people who are from certain bank and committing fraud through that. The next is identity theft. after that, which happens by using Aadhaar or PAN card details, and again we get phishing calls to get OTP from it. The next one is electronic pickpocketing. So debit cards, bank prepaid cards and credit cards have magnetic strip which have information regarding that card and the transaction we make in the current process. So sometimes without making any contact, we end up giving away our credentials or information in the magnetic strip of the card. Next is point of sale, which has card skimming and data breaches. Card skimming we have already talked about. Sometimes they have devices to again copy the information that is in the card. And next is data breaches. As we see, the point of sale devices are with every small vendor and everywhere in the market. So what happens, they don't have security and they don't know if the data, the transaction data which I am giving there by making the transaction is safe or not. Next is UPI. As we know, UPI has become one of the biggest way of making transactions, and we talked about the data as just have come out for month of May. Under UPI, we have seen fake mobile apps. We use various apps to use the UPI services, and we have seen those apps which are on the official stores for Android or Apple, and there are many apps which are spoof of those apps are on the website in APK forms or for the iOS device also. So whenever we download those apps from unofficial links and we use those links to make any transactions, or let's say they are quite similar, they look very similar to the interface is exactly the same as the app we have been used to use, but the people get duped by the similarity of the both apps. Second is SIM cloning. We have already talked about SIM swapping. Third is unverified links. Many times we get websites which are not official websites of making some e-commerce transactions, making some shopping on the website, but we follow those websites and see that whenever we enter our details and they take the cyber fraudsters take those details we have entered, and that website not being the legitimate websites gives away our details and also the password to the cyber fraudster. Next is remote screen monitoring. Sometimes we get calls from fraudsters and they impersonate some support team or some customer care team, and they tell us that this problem has come in your device or this problem has come into some app, and they'll ask you to install some app which provides them remote access, and through that remote access they use that remote access to surveil your phone basically. So whatever information you have on your phone and whatever you do on your phone, let's say you're opening your UPI app and making transactions, so that fraudster can see what you are entering and what is your code, so that he will be able to make transactions on his own when you are not using that app. The last is impersonating genuine sellers. Nowadays we've seen many times people search for let's say any good or service on the website, and whatever they see, let's say we see many things, let's say we see ads for many services or many, let's say I wanted to get a haircut, so I would look for a barber which will come to my home because of the COVID-19 situation we had, and we search for barber and then we see the first option that comes up after Google search, and then we just connect to that website or call that person, and we see the number and we call that person. And that person is basically a fraudster, and he has used search engine optimization, other ad services to bring his number on the forefront, and we end up being duped by the availability of that number on the topmost search result. And we call that number and we make the transaction or make the advance booking, and that person doesn't come. I gave you the example of a barber, but many a times we end up losing a lot more amount than a barber fee. We have talked about how the journey of fintech has been, how financial technology has affected the financial services we use in this day, and we talked about how all of the modes of using those financial services are targeted by cyber fraudsters. And we talked about many modes. The main purpose of this was to know that there are many ways that cyber fraudsters are always coming up with. As the financial technology is taking its shape, cyber criminals are coming up with more and more newer ways, so that we need to aware ourselves and know about these things that are there in our mobile, that are there on the web browser we are accessing, and we need to be aware and we need to always be on our toes. Now I'll request my colleague Mr. Deepak ji to continue with the apps. We had app fraud, different app frauds, investment apps, digital loan apps, earning website apps, and gaming frauds, which we'll be talking about in detail so that we can understand how they have been affecting the citizens of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, and it's really well covered about this fintech ecosystem, and I would like to say one thing here. We know about these technologies and we know about these things, how these things are operating in our cyber system, but when we talk about the fundamental perspective, so we are lacking somewhere. And we have seen during this COVID situation and various crimes has been, जैसे साइबर के क्षेत्र में काफ़ी क्राइम्स राइज कर रहे हैं और कहीं ना कहीं ये सारे क्राइम्स दे आर लिंक्ड विथ फाइनेंशियल फ्रॉड्स. So similarly, in our last series, we have covered about various crimes pertaining to financial fraud, but this time we are talking about mostly, and the top one, like digital loan, investment apps, money earning frauds, or you can see gaming based applications frauds basically. And we have seen various news pertaining to the same thing, not only with the financial part, even though various incidents as well. So starting with the first one, like when you talk about the digital loan or lending application through mobile application, basically when you're talking about, so as we see that ki kafi, I mean, during this economic stress, or you can say when the need of the money during this situation, like many people, लोगों का job चला गया, they're searching for jobs as well, or sometimes they may looking for some good investment, they may looking for some money earning schemes on online, or you can say Google perspective. So they are saying like they are getting some information through what? Through various search engines, you can see, through various mobile application, various platform generally which we are using. It could be WhatsApp, it could be Telegram, it could be anything. But the modus is very clear. Modus like the way, like how generally we are initiating these things. Like generally these things are propagating through either through our friends, through our neighbors, or through sometimes we having a phone, we having digital things in our hand. We search ourselves on Google and we search like loans in good interest or like whatever the information. But we have seen one thing, like maximum situation in the person or the company who are those providing a loan basically, so they don't ask much more information. Similarly, they may ask few information like PAN card, PAN Aadhaar details, or maybe some sort of referral, 2 or 3 referral, and immediately may they ask for to install some application, or through that application maybe they can say like you can upload some data like PAN Aadhaar something, so you have to just allow some permission. And similarly, what is happening there when we allow those permission, even we don't know exactly what kind of information they are silently taking from our phone. Initially they are more focusing about the contact part, and the contacts contain entire information about our friends, relatives, and those which we have saved in these things. And एक बार में अगर contact चला गया, and similarly further this information they may use for other different cyber crime perspective. Similarly second level में they won't ask too much detail, so easily loan avail हो जाता है. लोन लेने के बाद इवन रिफंड टाइम पे काफ़ी ऐसे केस भी हैं, काफ़ी ऐसे इंसिडेंट भी हुए हैं जहाँ पे लोगों ने लोन्स को रिपे भी कर दिया है, और काफ़ी ऐसे केस हुए हैं जहाँ पे लोन अगर नहीं हुआ है, डिले हो गया है, तो उन्हें थ्रेटनिंग मैसेजेस भी आने शुरू हुए, लोगों को मैसेजेस भी आए. और मैसेज को अगर आप देखेंगे तो आई विल शो यू सम सॉर्ट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन लाइक थ्रू दिस प्रेजेंटेशन, लाइक यू कैन सी these are some information on the presentation. You can see like this example perspective on some well-known platform. Earlier they simply they chat or they message in very proper perspective, like proper English and proper things are there. Now a time when you see आजकल मैसेजेस ऐसे आते हैं कि आप रीड भी नहीं कर सकते, आप उन्हें पढ़ भी नहीं सकते, इतने सिचुएशंस ऐसी रहती हैं. इवन दो सेकेंड थिंग इज द सेकेंड इमेज विच इज टॉकिंग अबाउट like the platform where they are circulating this all information, they are misusing some well-known platforms like Amazon, Flipkart or any big thing. So usually people think like, yeah, अगर Amazon word है तो शायद ये उससे link होगा, and we don't know exactly yes these things are linked or not. And similarly, these things came up through some random website. It could be any .in, .vip, .com, .something, and the legitimacy of the website is it's not correct. Similarly, when you're moving ahead about the investment-based application, the first one is called loan-based perspective thing, and similarly, when you talk about the second one is investment apps, even the same thing, they are approached through various ads. It's not about the ads pertaining to platform. ये ads कहीं पे भी आ सकते हैं. अक्सर हम नोटिस करते हैं कि जो वेल नोन प्लेटफॉर्म्स है, जैसे हम रील देखते हैं या फिर इंस्टाग्राम्स हैं या फिर ट्विटर है या फिर जितने भी वेल नोन टॉप OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स है, इवन दो सो समटाइम्स इसी आड़ में हैकर्स या क्रिमिनल्स या थ्रेट एक्टर्स कह लीजिए, जब कोई कैंपेन इनिशिएट करते हैं तो इस तरह का फेक एडवर्टीजमेंट दे रन, एंड सिमिलरली दे try to lure the people through different images and videos, and usually people think like this is a legitimate thing, and simply what is happening, they may ask for the simple different things, like they may ask for lucrative returns offered to earn money, and they may ask for fraudulent investment app through by installing. I mean, they may request that you may use, if you want to use this service, you may have 5% discount or 10% discount, something like that, or maybe if you refer this application to some different people, so even though you will get good discounts, so something like these kind of tactics generally they are using. And sometimes it's not only the application, sometimes it's also linked with some sort of websites, and usually we have seen various websites like .in. तो जब .in वेबसाइट हम देखते हैं सिंपल में .in, तो हमें लगता है इंडियन वेबसाइट है अक्सर, तो इस चीज़ में हम सोचते हैं कि इंडिया होगे तो हम इस पे स्टडी कर सकते हैं, एक्सेस कर सकते हैं, HTTPS भी है तो सेफ होगा. तो काफ़ी ऐसे कॉन्सेप्ट मिसकंसेप्शंस भी रहते हैं जहाँ पे यूजुअली पीपल समझते नहीं और दे ड्यूप इनटू दिस ऑल थिंग्स. सिमिलरली कभी कभी ऐसा होता है इन्वेस्टमेंट ऐप्स में नॉर्मली कि आप अगर अच्छा पैसा अर्न कर रहे हैं और आप उस एप्लीकेशन में अगर अच्छा ग्रोथ दिखा भी रहा होता है तो हम सोचते हैं कि हमारा प्रॉफिट हो रहा है, और जनरली हम ये चीज़ क्रिप्टो पर्सपेक्टिव वाले स्कैम्स में काफ़ी हमने नोटिस किया है, देखा भी है, और ऐसे केसेस ओपन सोर्स में भी अवेलेबल हैं जहाँ पर एप्लीकेशंस पे काफ़ी हाइक दिखाएगा कि यस काफ़ी अच्छा प्रॉफिट हो रहा है, एंड द टाइम व्हेन यू ट्राई टू रिट्रीव और विड्रॉ द मनी इवन from the same side they may ask like you have to pay some sort of 10% or you may use that application. withdraw करना है तो आप इस तारीख में withdraw कीजिए ताकि आपको टैक्स GST आपको ना भरना पड़े. तो ऐसे काफ़ी स्कैम्स भी हुए हैं जहाँ पे काफ़ी एप्लीकेशंस आके चली जा चुकी हैं. So similarly these things are linked with the investments, and some examples are on your screen. You can see that is the thing, like people may ask in very simple, like they may use or misuse native platforms like banking का कोई लोगो बना करके. Even we have seen certain cases where जहाँ पे YouTube इंस्पेक्टर बन करके फेक इमेज को morphing करके they are targeting to the people or the people who are not well versed, and they thought that कि अगर ये YouTube पे आ गया तो कितनी बदनामी होगी, और बदनामी के डर से सारी चीज़ें. और सेकंड आपको देख रहे हैं जैसे ये नंबर यूज किया गया है सेकंड में, these are the +62 नंबर और लाइक +1 प्लस मतलब नॉन इंडियन नंबर, जो नॉन 911+ नंबर के अलावा जो नंबर्स होते हैं ऐसे नंबर्स को यूज करके दे ट्राई टू कनेक्ट, एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम दीज नंबर्स आर इजीली अवेल थ्रू सम सॉर्ट ऑफ एप्लीकेशंस, और इस तरह से यहाँ से दे आर ट्राई टू चैट एंड दे ट्राई टू आस्क टू come onto our platform. They will give some sort of benefits as well. And now a time they may create some sort of user accounts as well, and they may say that कि आप अपना अकाउंट चेक कीजिए, आपको 50 रुपीज़ या इंडियन करेंसी में कुछ पैसे आपको मिलेंगे. विड्रॉ करने के लिए दे में आस्क कि आप इससे कनेक्ट कीजिए अपना कार्ड डिटेल्स, और सिमिलरली साइलेंटली दे में आस्क योर डिटेल्स एंड दे सिंपली और साइलेंटली टेक दिस ऑल इन्फॉर्मेशन. जरूरी नहीं कि यह इन्फॉर्मेशन दे में misuse on the same time. After some time maybe they can use after 1 month, 3 months, 6 months और 8 month, और तब जाके कोई पैसे अगर करते तो लगता है कि ये पैसे मेरे कहाँ से कटे और ये वेबसाइट्स कहाँ से मिली. मूविंग अहेड वी हैव द नेक्स्ट वन दैट इज कॉल्ड अर्निंग वेबसाइट, मनी अर्निंग. अक्सर गेमिंग पर्सपेक्टिव कह लीजिए, मनी अर्निंग पर्सपेक्टिव कह लीजिए, कि ऐसे वेरियस एड्स आर देयर लाइक if I'm saying Ludo game for example, so when you search Ludo on Google Play Store, you have plenty of applications, lakhs of applications are there which are talking about Ludo game. But even you don't know exactly which games are legit and which games are not. Even not only a Ludo part, any sort of games, any sort of study, any sort of image editing application, any sort of learning application, translators, anything. So similarly, when you're talking about the earning application, so there is certain types of challenges. Games, you play the game, if you earn the game, अगर आपने फुटबॉल गेम है, आपने 4 गोल में 3 गोल आपने मार लिया तो आपको इतना पैसा मिलेगा. If you want to invest more money into that one, तो ऐसे उनके steps होते हैं. So these are the hurdles, these are the steps, these are the pointers, and they simply ask some information. If you refer these things to the some friends और तो आपको और पैसे मिलेंगे. तो ये सब वर्चुअली चल रहा होता है. यूजुअली यूजर को पता नहीं होता कि ये वर्चुअली पैसा जो है ये हम विड्रॉ करेंगे तो मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा, इवन दो व्हेन दे ट्राई टू रिपोर्ट समवेयर, सो सिचुएशन इज समथिंग एल्स. Similarly, when you talk about the next one, like the platform, we have seen various things are utilizing by well-known platform, like WhatsApp is there, Telegram is also there, but awareness is the key. That is important. Like पूरा इंटरनेट में अगर ऐसी चीजें चल रही होती है, अगर हम ही अपने आप में इंटरनेट एटिकेट्स मेंटेन नहीं करेंगे तो हम कितने लोगों को ब्लेम करते रहेंगे. सो पहला अपना पर्सपेक्टिव है कि वी शुड अवेयर विद दीज प्लेटफॉर्म्स विच इज लेजिट एंड विच इज नॉट लेजिट. मूविंग अहेड, द सेकेंड सम एग्जांपल्स लाइक इट्स नॉट ओनली द थिंग्स विच वी सी. हम जैसे देख रहे हैं सामने जो इमेज में कुछ एप्लीकेशंस हैं, इनके आइकन्स देख करके, इनके रेटिंग्स देख करके हमें यह लगता है कि these are the legit application, even though they were in Google Play Store. 100 से ज्यादा प्ले स्टोर है पूरे, मतलब आप चेक करेंगे, इट्स नॉट ओनली द गूगल एंड एप्पल एंड एवरीथिंग, देयर आर वेरियस प्ले स्टोर्स आर देयर वेयर दे आर सर्कुलेटिंग these all things. Hence we are using Android, so we are having the Google Play Store. Similarly, when you're talking about Apple, so they have app stores for the Apple different. So similarly काफी ऐसे थर्ड पार्टी ऐप स्टोर्स भी हैं. तो जो स्क्रीन में जो आपको इमेज दिख रहा है बेसिकली दैट इज some application which was developed by one developer, and that developer created various fake things for collecting, harvesting and initiating the data for the cybercrime perspective. So that is the one indicator. And if you see about the second example, like the image, basically even they are asking for some sort of connectivity, some sort of talk point basically which is there. Next slide is talking about the एप्लीकेशन. यू सी दिस इज वन एप्लीकेशन. इसी एप्लीकेशन का जो बगल में बीच में जो इमेज है दैट इज द सेंटर वन, दैट इज द वेबसाइट बेसिकली. सो एप्लीकेशन भी सेम इज आस्किंग फॉर द नंबर एंड जस्ट सिंपल पासवर्ड एंड गेट इनटू दिस, एंड पैरेलली द सेम थिंग इज देयर. सो दिस इज द इंटरफेस फॉर द सेम थिंग एंड वी आर थिंकिंग लाइक या दिस इज द करेक्ट वन. नाउ ahead what we have some examples from the search engine. Remember, it's not only any top search engine, it could be any search engine where we are searching, but when we see the first called AD stand for advertisement. Similarly, when you talk about Instagram and all, we have sponsored something. If you Facebook में आप देखेंगे प्लेटफॉर्म पे, so ऐसा नहीं है कि सारी चीज़ फेक है, बट मैक्सिमम चीज़ें मिसयूज करके पॉपअप करके जब चीज़ें आती हैं तो हमें लगता है ये चीज़ें करेक्ट है, एंड समटाइम्स दीज आर प्लेइंग एज अ फाउल प्ले बेसिकली. सो व्हेन वी सर्च अबाउट एनी अर्न मनी एंड वी हैव सर्च रिजल्ट, तो अगर हमारे पास अच्छे एड-ऑन्स ब्लॉकर्स है तो हम ये ऐसे रिजल्ट आते नहीं, पॉपअप्स नहीं होते हैं. पर यूजुअली जहाँ प्लेन इंटरनेट में हम जब सर्च करते हैं, प्लेन सर्च इंजन में हम जब कुछ ऐसा सर्च करते हैं तो हमें काफ़ी एड्स पॉपुलेट होते हैं. हमें लगता है कि गूगल दिखा रहा है या कोई है तो वो सही ही होगा, एंड आफ्टर 3, 4, 5 रिजल्ट देन वी हैव अ रियल वेबसाइट. So now moving ahead, last one, that is called gaming fraud perspective, and that is a serious concern nowadays, and we have seen various incidents. So like initially or in very prompt manner, just want to explain like the threat vector called addictions होते हैं, no doubt. साइड इम्पैक्ट में प्रॉस भी है, कॉन्स भी हैं, पर मेजरली हम जब देखते हैं कि इस गेमिंग प्लेटफॉर्म में काफ़ी साइबर बुलिंग के शिकार भी होते हैं यूजर्स. टॉकिंग अबाउट द रिस्क ऑफ लॉसिंग मनी, काफ़ी लोगों के पैसे भी जा चुके हैं, इवन दे डोंट नो, बिकॉज व्हाट दे नीड, दे जस्ट नीड अ मोबाइल फोन एंड टू परचेज एनी एमओ और एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ लेवल्स और समथिंग. तो देयर इज वन थिंग. You remember exactly some malwares could be there, malicious applications, malicious functionalities could be embedded onto the application. That is one. Privacy problems is also there. We don't know about the privacy part. That is very in detail when you check about the application. Hidden fees is also there. But the major point is about the attack vectors when you talk about like open source. Hence it is a open source. So कोई भी open source application है उसको repackage करके डाल सकता है. Second, third party website is also there. And third is chargebacks and returns is there, targeting gamers IP is there, phishing, fake mobile versions. फेक मोबाइल वर्जन को देख लीजिए कि जरूरी नहीं कि UI जैसा बताया बिल्कुल कि यूजर इंटरफेस बिल्कुल सिमिलर रहता है. एंड फाइनली व्हाट वी हैव द थिंग्स. सो फाइनल वन इज द रेड फ्लैग्स वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड थ्रू. It could be from various website. It could be there's no information about the founder. There is no information about the basically registration details. No information about their who's the developer basically, contact details, emails and everything is there which is not properly. आप रिव्यूज की बात करेंगे, रिव्यूज भी फेक डाले जाते हैं, 5 रेटिंग 4 रेटिंग, यह कोई बड़ी चीज नहीं। तो आप प्रॉपर्ली जब चेक करेंगे उसके एक्सपीरियंस को तो काफी चीजें आपको मालूम चलेंगी कि कौन से एप्लीकेशन हमारे लिए लेजिट है कि नहीं है। एंड द लास्ट वन अबाउट द थिंग, जैसे एग्जाम्पल में मैंने एक स्क्रीनशॉट डाल रखा है, जैसे एक एप्लीकेशन है फौजी करके, एंड इवन इट वाज नॉट लॉन्च बट नेट पे बीटा वर्जन इस तरह की चीजें आ गई और लोगों ने डाउनलोड भी किए। तो इस तरह से लोगों के क्रेडेंशियल्स, कंटेंट्स, फोन या मॉनिटरी पर्सपेक्टिव पे इट कुड बी एनीथिंग। सो दीज थिंग्स आर देयर एंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, दिस इज कॉल्ड स्पिन व्हील वाला। स्पिन व्हील में हम काफी देखते हैं कैसे व्हाट्सएप पे मैसेजेस भी आते हैं जहाँ पे स्पिन करो और यू विल विन समथिंग। अभी रिसेंटली टाटा मोटर्स का भी काफी दिखाया था, और विमेंस डे में भी काफी ऐसे आते हैं ऑर्नामेंट्स, या कभी ऐसा डे होता है। तो दैट इज द तो वेरियस थिंग्स आर देयर। सो दिस इज द मेजर ट्रेंड आई हैव कवर्ड कि हमें कैसे समझना है, कैसे बचना है, बट मेजर चीज है हमारी अवेयरनेस। सो आई वुड से अगेन लाइक to come up the financial cyber fraud awareness perspective, what is required for the prevention point?
Now we are coming toward the culmination of our presentation, and we need to understand this. We are bringing in front of you all these topics, not to make you understand everything, every idea in this single session. It is just to start a conversation, start awareness, and make people aware. That is why we are having this Cyber Jagrukta, and we need to talk about these things, and we need to understand. We need to talk about in the classes. We need to talk about in our friend circle, so that what is happening with that mode and what is happening in that certain kind of cybercrime or financial cybercrime, that is. So. On your screen, you see 4 links that we have provided that can be breaking the ice resource for us. So the first one is NCRP portal, which is a component of Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, that is I4C under MHA, and we always put up various resources, various advisories, various papers that we come up with so that we can talk about new trends that are happening in the field of cybercrime. Second is RBI Kehta Hai. That link is also doing very well in talking about digital literacy and how we should avail these banking financial services. Third one is Cashless India. It's an initiative of Government of India, and it talks about how India is using all those services which are making us cashless, and we can use all those online and digital services to make digital payments and other investments. The fourth one is Information Security Education and Awareness, that is ISEA. We all know about this, and they are doing great work in the field of information security awareness. On the bottom of the slide, you see what we should do in case of online financial fraud. The first one is you should call 1930, and then you should complete your complaint in the website, that is cybercrime.gov.in, and then file a grievance at the bank. In the last slide we come, it is about all the initiatives of I4C in different social media platforms to talk about awareness and to talk about latest trends in the field of cybercrime, so that we can know about what are the financial cybercrimes that are coming up and what we should know and how we should avail a certain service. We should not be over enthusiastic about some certain service which has just come up, and we should try to learn about what is in the back of it, and we should be more aware of those things. And yeah, I'll conclude with this. Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much. And like you mentioned, the financial cyber fraud awareness, and said repeatedly that awareness actually is the key. So we all are using internet banking, we are using these banking services, some or the other, how be it wallets, be it ATM, be it credit cards, debit cards, and other things as well. So we need to be aware, and we need to stay away from the fraudsters. So we don't have much time left, but I would still like to ask you one question, and then we'll wrap up. So you mentioned no cash fraud of ATM, and you said that when the money is stuck in the machine itself, the person calls the helpline number, which is 1930. So when the helpline number someone calls, and what is the solution they suggest at that moment, right then and there?
The specific fraud we are talking about, the no cash fraud, it's about an attachment, a device which is placed under the outlet of the ATM device. And when that happens, it's the then and there kind of fraud. And nobody will just come to that ATM and help you with that. If the guard, so we should be aware about that that kind of fraud is also happening in this digital space right now, and we can be a victim to that thing. And whenever that happens, we should know we should not avail those ATMs which are far in remote areas. We should avail the services of the ATMs which are in the middle of the crowded area or where guard is placed, so that those ATMs are not those ATMs are not placed with those devices which can be used for no cash fraud.
Okay, so would you like to add something?
Yeah, exactly. Like most of the things covered. Physically, we have to also check like कि हम कहाँ पिन डाल रहे हैं, उसका कीपैड कैसा है, कैमरास प्रॉपर्ली वर्क कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा है, और आप उसका स्कीमर्स डिवाइस काफ़ी यूज़ किए जा रहे हैं, आप वो भी चेक कर सकते हैं. तो काफ़ी ऐसे फंडामेंटल थिंग्स नेट ऑलरेडी अवेलेबल भी हैं, वो भी आप देख सकते हैं कि डिवाइसेस कैसी हैं, हमें क्या चीज़ का ध्यान रखना है फिजिकली, क्योंकि यहाँ पे फिजिकली सारा काम हो रहा है. फिजिकली समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है कि कैसे कैसे हमें निकालना है, पैसे नहीं निकल रहे हैं, हमें कहाँ कॉल करना है, इज देयर इन गार्ड इज नॉट देयर, like this basically.
Absolutely. So these are the precautions our experts just mentioned. If you are next time going to the ATM or using your credit card, debit card, any of these things, then please be very careful and take all the precautions possible. So let me tell you about the quiz which will be given to you. The link will be given to you on 17th of June. That will be next Friday. So all you have to do for now is register yourself. Open the website CIET. Yes, that's the home page. If you see the options here, that's events is one of the options, and scroll it down. The second last option is workshop/training. If you'll click here and scroll it down a little bit, this is the current activity. If you can see, 1st June to 17th of June, Cyber Jagrukta Divas series, financial safety in cyberspace. Just click in here, and this is everything you need to know regarding this series. Objectives, who all can participate, the schedule of the program, how to participate. This is the link given. All you have to do is scan your QR code or click on this link here and fill up the form. And if you have not seen our earlier sessions, 2 sessions have been done, and this is the 3rd session, and you can watch it here, which is NCRT Official, our YouTube channel. And here the quiz link will be given to you next week, next Friday. If you have any feedback, you can submit using this link. So this is everything regarding our theme of this month, and which is financial safety in cyberspace. So this was a very informative session. I would like to thank both our experts, Shri Sanjay Kumar and Dr. Deepak Kumar, for being with us, for joining us in this program and sharing all this important and necessary information to all our viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all our viewers for watching this program, and stay here, don't go anywhere. We're coming up with another special program of ours, that is Sayog, and the topic of discussion would be strengthening resilience and maximizing the learning opportunities among students. Please keep on watching PME Vidya channels and also NCRT Official, our YouTube channel. Thank you once again. Take care. Namaskar.